Rita Kemp of The Washington Post says the director brings a surprisingly sensitive touch to this earnest story of intolerance. Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times calls it surprisingly effective. And Amazon user Stephen Richard Mooney says, stay away from this piece of shit. On this episode of Ruined Childhoods, we determine the fate of school ties.
Sequel. Reboot. Which one will it be?
It's the Ruined Childhoods podcast.
Greetings, Starfighters. It's that time again. Ruined Childhoods. I'm Dan. I'm here with
I'm
John.
Hello, how is everybody? Please answer. Talk to your car stereo. Talk to your AirPods.
Open up
Let us
your
know.
windows and stick your head out and say, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it. We watched Network last weekend. My wife,
Did you?
Alicia, and I. We watched Network.
What prompted that? Aside from it being great, but like...
Well, honestly, I mean, it was more of a continuous nudging. Like it's been a long time since I've seen it, or it had been a long time since I had seen it, and between just the whole climate of media and the kind of the way that news has changed and also hasn't. And also just the brilliance of this movie. And I also thought to myself, well, this is not a movie that Alicia had seen before. She grew up in Belgium, for those of you. John knows this. He's my brother, for those of you who are new to the podcast. So he knows that my wife grew up in Belgium. You might not know that. Chances are you do. But so she would not have seen Network growing up. She saw a lot of American movies growing up, but Network was definitely not one of them. And I thought to myself, she's someone who would really enjoy this. And though she's not, English not being her first language, sometimes comedy and satire can be challenging. So I don't always watch those with her. But in this case,
Right.
I was like, I really think that she could follow what's going on because she's savvy to business. And I really felt that she would not necessarily like Faye Dunaway's character, who is not necessarily meant to be likable, but would understand where that character is coming from. And it's such a brilliant movie, and I'd been wanting to watch it again for some time, but I just thought to myself, like, I really think she would enjoy this. And she did. She did.
Great.
Let's put it this way. We started it at 8:30 at night. And for those of you who don't know, we have a 5-year-old. So
Yeah, 8:30 is a late start time for a movie.
And we stayed awake for the entire movie.
That's an accomplishment.
It sure
A
is.
true testament.
So back to the task at hand, because today we're not talking about Network. Just to kind of explain what we are talking about when we talk about movies is whether or not these properties should be sequeled, prequeled, if they have to be, if Hollywood is going to kind of keep going back to the bank and, cashing in on their old hits. Bad Boys for Life coming out soon.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, what's the best way to do this? What do we think should be done if they're going to do anything with it? And how would we prefer as fans, as fans just of good movies, how would we prefer them to go about doing this? It's just it's our 2 cents. So it's a combined 4 cents worth of opinion. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, and just before we get into the movie that we're going to be focusing on this episode, I do want to talk a little bit about the movies of 2019. And yes, there have been quite a few reboots and remakes and sequels and prequels and stuff, but there have also been a lot of really truly original films or things that have been adapted from books like Jojo Rabbit. And then, you know, original things like Knives Out or Us or Parasite. What's up?
And something like Knives Out, because, you know, one would argue it's just a new take on an old genre, but I would argue that it actually uses that genre as a, I guess, a motif to say something else, to say something that outside of the film. Yeah, and really, I hesitate to say much more than that, because I really encourage people to go see it. It's one of those movies where I have a hard time thinking of someone who wouldn't at least like it, if not love it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we also have things like readaptations of Little Women, not a remake of the 90s version, but a true readaptation.
Who plays Winona Ryder?
Yeah. So, you know, a lot of people say things like, you know, there's nothing original anymore. And it's like, no, there's a lot of things that are original, but you also have to remember, as long as there have been movies, there have been remakes, because pretty much the second movie ever made was a remake of the first.
The Great Train Robbery.
Yeah. So for anybody who argues that we no longer make original movies, we totally, and but by we, I mean, well, people,
the world,
are,
yes.
They are definitely out there. And I don't know percentage wise how many more remakes or reboots we're doing now as opposed to, you know, the early 1900s, but wouldn't be surprised if it's comparable percentage, if not less.
Though, if I may, just to...
You may.
Thank you. On the other...
You're welcome.
I guess and I agree with you 100%. Like, there's a lot of originality in filmmaking. One could even argue that even in a genre like so oversaturated like the superhero genre, there's originality. Shazam was probably one of my favorite movies of 2019. Like, I admittedly have not seen...
I enjoyed it. I saw it on an airplane.
Yeah, me too.
Great airplane movie.
Yeah, exactly. Great airplane movie, but I really enjoyed it. Like, I enjoyed it the way I enjoyed Ant-Man, where it was just like, oh, this is this is a little something different. It's just, and it works. So, but just to kind of speak on the other side of things, I am nostalgic for a day when, like, Rain Man could be the #1 box office hit of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I know in recent years that there have been some big, you know, popular dramas that have made money.
Pop dramas?
Pop dramas? Pop dramas? Did you just make that up?
You heard it here first, folks. Pop dramas.
Damn. Pop dramas. The Blind Side. The Blind Side is a pop dram.
Totally.
Wow.
Uncut Gems,
awesome.
pop drama.
Really?
Yeah, it's popular. It's a drama.
Oh, but I was thinking more of I was thinking more of a drama that is made to be popular, like a multiplex drama.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Uncut Gems does not seem like the type of movie that, you know, like your grandma's going to go see. I mean,
no, but I believe it has outperformed like Cats at the box office, like something that's set up to be a real crowd pleaser.
And while we're on the topic of Cats, is it just me, or does it seem like it's failure to be like a good movie? And I haven't seen it, so I can't say. But from everything I'm hearing, is it actually like I'm intrigued. Like, I want to see it more. The more that I hear that people are like leaving it just in like shell shocked. It's I'm trying to remember the last movie that was like this, like Apocalypse Now.
Yeah, right, for very different reasons.
Where people are just like walking out of the movie being like, what just happened? What did I experience?
You know, I feel like it's a similar phenomenon that happened when like 50 Shades of Grey came out, where it was created to be taken seriously, and I saw it in the theater, and let me tell you, everybody was on the same page in that theater. As soon as things started to get wacky, everybody in the theater was laughing so hard and at the ridiculousness of that movie. And
It's like a Showgirls.
And because of that, it was successful, and they made more of them. So it was certainly made to be taken seriously, but that's not the, end result.
They also made more of them because there were other books.
Right, but they didn't have to.
But, right. No, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, point of reference.
I know, which is too bad because I really enjoyed the American. Well, is it American or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was David Fincher.
It's David Fincher, right?
I mean, I'm
just thinking of the stars of it. Well, the Daniel Craig. Anyway, yes. So that one I really enjoyed. Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and I was hoping that they would continue to do more because they were talking about it, and then they said, you know what? Nope.
I mean, and I'm just speculating. Part of it could have to do with Daniel Craig's Bond schedule. I also, to me, my one complaint about the movie of Girl with the Dragon Tattoo is I, like so many other people, read the book. And so the surprise and the shock of it was taken out of it. But it's funny because I liked the movie so much that I actually left the theater thinking like, man, I kind of wish I hadn't read the book.
I mean, I hadn't read the book. I thought it was a really enjoyable, suspenseful movie.
Oh, I agree. I felt it was. I just felt like personally, I would have had just that bit more of enjoyment had I not read the book. But neither here nor there.
Neither here nor there. And just to tie things in.
Oh, y'all just got schooled.
So, in reading a lot of the reviews and the response to this movie, it's something that's compared a lot, or maybe considered to be a bit of a knockoff of Dead Poets Society, the private school drama. And yes, there are similarities.
Yes,
as aside from just the overall tone and general setting.
Okay, yeah, but so then is Dead Poet Society just a knockoff of I don't know, like a separate piece?
Maybe it is, Dan.
Like, is it just because it's set at a prep school during the 1950s? I'm sorry, I feel like...
What year was Dead Poet Society?
Was it set or did it come out?
Did it come out?
89.
Your recall is astonishing. So, yeah, it came out a couple years before. But I think
89 was an amazing year.
I think that what is being implied is that, like, it's like, oh, Dead Poet Society. Yeah, let's just do that. But, like, let's find, a different angle. And I don't know. So,
but John, so I'm sorry, but I'm going to insert a little trivia here. But it's actually like, so School Ties was written by Dick Wolf of Law and Order.
Executive producer Dick Wolf.
Yes. And it was based somewhat on his experiences.
That's true. Yeah. No, okay. To our listeners, you are not going to hear any major complaints about School Ties from me and Dan. We are, School Ties apologists. We are firm believers that it should go down in history as being one of the GOATs. And, honestly, Dan, when I describe this podcast to people, you'll hear me use the words cult and classic when referring to the films that we typically cover. And if you look back at the last 46 episodes, most of the times they qualify under that category. I would not consider School Ties to be either of those. School Ties is a movie that is a classic movie for us.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. So listen, I'm sorry. I'm getting a little I know I'm getting a little defensive about School Ties, but I find it's not just an insult to School Ties. I feel like it's also kind of an insult to Dead Poet Society, because Dead Poet Society sends a very different message and has a very different story. School Ties, the most significant teacher character in it is like evil.
Yeah.
Cleary. Evil. Mr. Cleary.
Yeah. There are two teachers, and one of them I would consider to be a solid dude. The other is the opposite. He is a liquid monster.
Oh,
whatever the opposite of a solid dude is.
Oh, so
the history teacher.
The history teacher. Yeah, the history teacher is a solid dude. But, and you know what, like, and I like the way that they paint, and I know you will synopsize momentarily,
sure,
but I appreciate the way that a lot of the administrators at the school, those adult characters are drawn out. And I'll admit, I feel like there's, some of the characters lack some dimension. I also feel like, I think the message and the tone, like, don't need to be, the message and the tone are more important to me in watching this movie. At least that's what I found on this last viewing.
Right. Yeah. But also, as a movie that is intended to be enjoyed, for various reasons, like, I think that it also checks those boxes too. It's not purely just message driven.
Oh no, it's got great drama, and I love that, like, the 1950s, like 1955 intro, like, you got to show the gas station with the attendant and like the all clean white suit who's all friendly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, you got Shaboom playing or whatever it is. And
whatever you need to hear to remind you that it's the 50s.
It sets the tone. But then also, I think here's one place where they kind of brought that comparison on themselves was having Maurice Jarre, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, as the composer. He also composed the score for Dead Poet Society.
Well, if it ain't broke.
So, yeah.
So I'm going to give a little bit of an overview, and there are a few layers to this one, so buckle up. So this is, we're talking about School Ties, 1992. It's the 50s, and David Green is a teenage football phenom from Scranton, Pennsylvania, and he was chosen by St. Matthews, recruited by St. Matthews, a prestigious private high school in the Boston area, to do his senior year there and play for their football team, which basically means a guaranteed path to the Ivy Leagues. And the catch is that he's Jewish, and St. Matthew's is a Christian school. I don't think that there's any particular denomination. His roommate says that he's like Lutheran or Methodist or something. And so after David hears some anti-Semitic comments from his new buddies, he decides that he needs to keep his religion a secret. And the problem is that, he's hearing it left and right, and it's very casual the way that people are bringing up anti-Jewish remarks. The first one being when one of the guys mentions that he bought his hi-fi from a friend who wanted 40 for it, but he Jewed him down to 30. And that's what really, caught his attention. So David quickly becomes the big man on campus and is loved by everybody except for Charlie Dillon, who at first they're like super good friends, but several things happen that rub Dillon the wrong way. So Dillon was supposed to be quarterback, and David came in and became the quarterback by default, essentially. He was the star, and he's the BMOC, and he's the quarterback. So he took that from Charlie, and that pissed him off. Sorry, Dylan. He goes by Dylan. And on top of that, David also gets together with Sally Wheeler, and that's the girl who Dylan claims to be his girlfriend. They grew up together, and it's always just been kind of assumed that they would end up together. So when people find out that David is Jewish, which is discovered by Dylan and then told during a 100% nude shower scene with all of the friends. So everybody turns against him and calls him a liar for hiding that from them. And eventually it is discovered that somebody has cheated on the big history exam. And even though David saw Dylan do it, he says that he saw David do it. And who are they going to believe? The guy who's probably from the most, well-known family at the school, or from the person who they've all considered to be a liar. So, spoiler alert, David is redeemed when Dylan's roommate, Van Kelt, admits that he saw Dylan cheating. Not done yet, Dan. So Brendan Fraser plays David. Matt Damon plays Dylan. Amy Locane plays Sally, who was Brendan Fraser's girlfriend in Airheads. Chris O'Donnell plays David's roommate, Chris, who is like the one guy who stands up for David, even though he's got his hang-ups, he stands up for him. And Randall Battenkoff is Van Kelt. Meanwhile, the class clown, McGivern, the guy who got the high five for $30, he's kind of living with this pressure of 5 generations of McGiverns to go to Princeton. And he's failing French, which is taught by Mr. Cleary, who he's tormented by, relentlessly tormented by. And it ultimately leads to McGivern having this crazy nervous breakdown and never returning back to school. So Mr. Cleary is played by, and Dan, if you have a better pronunciation than I do, Zeljko Ivanek. That's
pretty much. Yeah.
If you looked him up, you'll see that he's been in everything. And then Andrew Lowry plays McGivern. He was kind of in everything in the 90s. He was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, along with Ben Affleck, who is also one of the buddies, and Randall Battenkoff, who's Van Kelt. So that's everything you kind of need to know. Dan, am I missing anything?
No, I really don't think so. I would say, though, even though Dylan and David were kind of, they were cool at the beginning, there was tension from the very start because Dylan feels that David took his spot, and he makes some, he makes some, I forget what the comment is. He makes some, sideways comment, at David, and David is like, hey, no problem. Even in, even here, a prick's still a prick or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So
yeah,
there's that moment.
Another thing, and this is towards the beginning, I don't remember if it was Dylan exactly who says this, or if it was Magoo, Anthony Rapp, who basically plays a little Hitler Youth looking creepo.
Musical theater fans, the original Mark in Rent.
I know, absolutely. So somebody says something about like how unfair it is that David can come in and like he never got hazed, he never had to go through all the stuff that they all had to go through, and it quickly gets brushed off about, it's like, he's, he was brought here, he's gone through his own stuff, so on and so forth. And, he is a charismatic guy. He is really easy to like. He is, he fits right in. And he's fitting in with the most popular kids in school.
Yeah. Even once they discover that he's part of the wait staff in the dining hall, which he does as part of his scholarship, which I love. There's an interaction after the conflict. Were you gonna bring that up?
We're going to talk about that a little bit later, but feel free to say what you want to say.
Oh, yes. Never mind. Because I think I'm going to say what we're going to talk about later. So I guess another scene that I would mention, kind of the one of the big climactic scenes here is very soon after. Oh, and let me bring this up. So the all nude shower fight.
Oh yeah, they fight in the shower.
So, okay. I'm assuming this is not the first time they've all showered together, just because
I know what you're going to say.
Yeah. So wouldn't they notice that someone's not wearing a hoodie?
I had the same thought. I don't know if he typically just like hides the front of his body from his buddies. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I felt that I remembered that he kind of like would shower at times when there wouldn't be anyone in the shower, but after games,
it's one of those things. Maybe there's a deleted scene out there that explains it.
Boating accident.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe just like, I don't know. Maybe just they were all too, I don't know, timid to. Maybe they just didn't look. Who knows?
No,
anyway.
I don't think that this group is too timid for anything.
No, that's true. They do wrestle naked in the shower.
Oh, we beat St. Luke's. That was the grand plan. Yeah. Mission accomplished. The old boy network got together and bought us a victory. But, the joke's on us. What joke? But you didn't hear the joke?
All right, well, let's hear the joke.
Let's hear the joke. True story. Last weekend, there was a religious revival at Madison Square Garden. Bishop Fulton Sheen gave such a stirring address that afterwards 10,000 people converted to Catholicism. Then Billy Graham got up, and after an hour of inspired preaching, 10,000 people converted to Protestantism. Finally, to end the program, Pat Boone got up, saying there's a gold mine in the sky, and 20,000 Jews joined the Air Force. What's the matter, David? Don't the Jews have a sense of humor? Yeah, it turns out our golden boy here is a lying, backstabbing kike.
Come on, kike! You son of a bitch! Get the door. Damn it! Come on! Come on! I don't want to fight him! I don't want to fight him! Go ahead! Deny it! Go ahead! Deny it! Deny it! I don't want to fight him! My hand's through! It's true! It's a him! Come on! No! Hey! Come on! Stop it! All right! Enough! Come on!
But look at and of course this is the the future of young Hollywood, or at least that's what they were told they were going to be. And for some of them it was absolutely true.
Yeah, they were told they'd be the next Brat Pack. And I mean that cast, wow. Because you have like we said, there's the group who went on to all go in like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. There's the Dazed and Confused crew, Anthony Rapp, Ben Affleck, and I'm forgetting his name.
Oh, and Randall Batten. No, not in Dazed and Confused.
Yeah.
Anthony Rapp.
Ben Affleck. And
was there someone else from School Ties in that?
Yes, he's...
was Andrew Lowry in that?
No, it's... oh my God, why am I blanking
Which character?
on this? I don't remember the character's name, but he's the redhead. The guy who cheats on the French thing.
Oh, Cole Hauser.
Cole Hauser, that's it.
Cole Hauser, yeah. Well, they're part of the football team in that too. And I also think in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which came out a few months before School Ties.
Oh, did it really?
I mean, month. I think it came out like a month before School Ties.
Yeah, and then I mean, clearly, well, Matt Damon had been in a couple things before this, but like, I think it's much smaller roles. But I mean, we all know what happened to Matt Damon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We sure do.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's also interesting to point out that everybody makes a big deal about going to Harvard. Especially Dylan. And even though he, spoiler alert, gets expelled, he's like, you know what? I'm still going to go to Harvard. And you know what? Maybe as a janitor.
Oh.
And Brendan Fraser gets there, and with honors.
Yes, that's true. All right. Wow. That's fascinating. I love that connection. I feel like an idiot for not making it, but I love it. But the other scene that I wanted to point out was after all this comes out, David comes back to his room to find a
iconic
banner.
Scene.
Yeah, really iconic, but and really chilling.
For us. I don't know if anybody else remembers this.
Well, I mean, look, if you've seen School, and actually, John, you know what? I'm gonna throw this out there. So, little tangent here. At the school where I work, I teach in the Seattle area, and I am part of a group called the No Place for Hate Committee. I think it's pretty obvious, what we're there to do. It's kind of a national organization, make part of the Anti-Defamation League, and to make your school no place for hate. And in the context of discussing the group, I brought up School Ties because I had just watched it the night before. So
right.
I brought up School Ties, and one of my colleagues who runs our restorative justice and is, I think several years, at least 5 years younger than me. So, but possibly more of an age gap, but just loves School Ties and talked about it. And we just kind of went on a little School Ties tangent. So I think more people have seen this movie than we think have seen it. But this scene is just, it's unforgettable, and viewing it in the context of today, where we have such a rise in hate crime in America, particularly anti-Semitic crime, and thinking about all of the, I'm thinking of all the photos that I've seen over the past couple of years of swastikas on graveyards, right. And Jews will not replace us. That chant, and in schools. And so the scene is, he comes into his room, and there's this big banner, and there's this in red paint, this swastika, and it says, go home Jew. And I got chills much more so than I ever had before. I think did we watch this movie at some point when I came to visit you in LA? I meant to ask you about that. Did we? Probably. I remember, I'm pretty sure that we went on a hunt for a copy of School Ties, and I do not recall.
We've gone for hunts for a lot of different movies, Soap Dish being one of them.
Yeah, but
later on. Sounds about right.
I do think
that Isn't it great that we live in a time now where it's just on demand whenever we want to watch it on some streaming platform?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. All you have to do is tell whatever your system is, just find School Ties.
And it's really? Okay.
Yeah, and then you yell, coward!
I'm not here to judge. Yeah.
What are you afraid of, Siri?
Yeah.
But anyway, so that scene, and then he challenges, he posts the sign up on the boards as come and
he doesn't post. Okay, Dan, he doesn't post it on the board. He posts it 7 inches to the left of the bulletin board.
And what is it is it his pen or is it a knife that he sticks into the wall? It's a knife.
It's a knife.
Yeah. I mean, talk about the Hebrew Hammer.
Who is David Green? Confused.
Well, I mean, he fights Cocos right off the bat. David Green is not to be messed with.
Right.
Especially when you mess with his heritage.
Yeah.
And there's some great lines. There's some great exchanges. There's that when David, this is another thing though, when he sneaks off to the chapel to pray for Rosh Hashanah,
Right.
That is brazen. That you're kind of, and he gets, and I guess it's like the headmaster knows, but I think
He doesn't like it.
But when the headmaster says that line to him and says,
Was it worth it? Breaking a tradition just to win a football game.
Your tradition or mine, sir?
I don't think I ever caught that line.
It's real ballsy.
It is really ballsy. Yeah. He makes a lot of those comments. And when he says to the board at the end, when they tell him, I love the Rip Van Kelt reveal when he's sitting with his legs crossed.
Dramatically.
Like he's Benoit Blanc from Knives Out.
Totally.
So I love, and he just looks at them and he's like, you know what? You're using me to win football games. I'm going to use you to get into Harvard.
Yeah.
He just like he does a mic drop before that existed.
What I wish I knew is exactly why he wants to go to Harvard. I mean, we don't know what his interests are outside of playing football.
Law.
It's law. I completely missed that. Completely missed that. Is
John,
it mentioned like once?
With honors? Hello?
Oh, with honors.
No, actually, though, to be honest, though,
okay, all right.
I do believe that if there is a background, I do think that law would be an appropriate choice because look at him fight anti-Semitism, literally.
Yeah.
Caucus. He fights Caucus, the town bully in Scranton. He's the Scranton Strangler.
And then he tries to fight it later, but his potential competitors are cowards. So,
yes, yeah. Oh, yeah. They're all standing up in their rooms, and he's in the rain, and he just shouts "cowards" at them. It's amazing. It just occurred to me. Encino Man was also 92, so like a lot of these guys had a hell of a year.
Yeah. Well, Brendan Fraser. I mean, I think he's fantastic in this. I've always been a fan of his work like in the 90s when he was like really in his prime. Airheads,
Gods and Monsters.
Like
you ever see Gods and Monsters?
Yeah, it's great. It's really fantastic.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, nobody's
American.
in that who was in Lorenzo's Oil, but I looked.
Oh.
Not the case.
But yet in School Ties, actually, I wasn't thinking about Lorenzo's Oil.
I kind of went down the cast to see if any of them were like in anything with the big three.
Matt Damon and Susan Sarandon must have been in something together. No.
Nope. Maybe a political fundraiser, but nothing I could find.
Yeah, no, I don't think Matt Damon and Susan Sarandon would be at the same political fundraiser. Ben Affleck and anybody? No?
Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, aside Lorenzo's Oil aside, it's I don't know. I mean, I also watched this movie the other night, and I've seen this movie 10 times maybe, which is a lot for a movie.
That is
like
a lot.
this.
I don't think I've seen it 10 times.
I mean, that's just, an estimate, but it's probably pretty accurate. But it's enjoyable each time I watch it. It moves quickly. It's the cast is so strong. Like, aside from Brendan Fraser, like Matt Damon, even though this is a very early role for him, he is the like main bad guy, I would say.
He's great.
And he's fantastic. He's fantastic.
He really does. And he doesn't get the opportunity to play smarmy. And to see him at such a young age do it so well.
It worked, it worked really well then. He had the look. Mm-hmm. He just, it'd be, I think, a little trickier for him to pull it off now. But, at that time, he just like really nailed that character. And, Anthony Rapp, you take one look at him and in this movie, and you know what he's about.
Oh yeah.
And Chris O'Donnell is fantastic in this, who plays Chris, the roommate. And,
yeah, I really do like him in this.
You know, and he's somebody who's clearly struggling because he, on one hand, really likes David and doesn't want to betray him. But he's also struggling because I don't know if he's ever met a Jewish person before. And he still feels like he's been lied to, and he still thinks that it's different that it matters for a Jewish person to be there as opposed to somebody who's a different, sect of Christianity. Mm-hmm. And, he's having trouble negotiating that mentally, but he pretty quickly wants to just be the ally for David. So he plays that role really well.
Well, and he does.
And I believe what year was Scent of a Woman?
92.
Really? So
yeah, and great year for these guys.
Yeah,
but and he says he'd never met a Jew before,
and he's one says that. I thought that Cole Hauser says that, or I don't know. Maybe they all say that.
Cole Hauser is the one who admits to being an anti-Semite, but also just being like, look, he's like, yeah, I make Jew jokes. I'm an anti-Semite, but logic is logic.
Yeah.
And what makes and Chris kind of comes to that same thing, and I forget what their exchange was, but he's got this great exchange with David where they're having that conversation about different sects of Christianity and someone being Jewish being different. And I think a lot of that comes down to the rhetoric in different religions. So I feel that a sect of Christianity that at that time was preaching a lot of the, Jews killed Jesus.
Yes, which somebody does mention at some point.
Cocos.
Okay, there you go.
He says when he's trying to get into the diner, and he says, "So it doesn't bother you? Your buddy killed your buddy."
Right, but I feel like one of the other guys, like one of his buddies.
Oh, I think they do. I think they do at some point. But yeah. I mean, I just also like saying Cocos's name. It's a fun.
You do.
I'm like, I want to. That's another. That's a backstory I want to know about. Like, I don't
Craig
think Cocos
Bierko. Sorry, I had to. So that's a backstory. You want to know more about his Scranton life?
About Cocos and his
little biker gang.
Story. Yeah, he's part of the Outsiders. I don't know.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, you have to remember this takes place in the mid 1950s, and globally, people, even though World War II is over, people are still in a certain mentality, and there's a lot of propaganda that's still going around, and a lot of people still saying things that aren't founded on any truth at all, and we like to think that now these days things are different, but you know what? Maybe in the bigger cities they are, but there are places where it's the same. It's exactly like this. So
yeah, there, and I think also and there's pockets everywhere you go. There, there's times when you don't know who has what opinions nearby you, and if you reveal that, and that's the thing about, because I was thinking about this story and the story of an athlete used for his talents despite racism, and I was thinking about Colin, not Colin Kaepernick per se, but I was thinking of black athletes.
Mm-hmm.
Especially at that time. And I'm thinking about, comparing a story about what if a school like this, brought in a black athlete, how does that change the story? Well, you can't hide it. David can hide it.
Yes, he can hide it.
and he chooses to. The thing is, do you think he would have been better off if he had, like, when the guys were making the Jew jokes, David, kind of knowing the world that he's in, do you think it would have been that things would have ended up being better for him there had he just said, "Hey guys, look."
Right. Well, yeah. So what a lot of his friends claim is the issue is not that he's Jewish exactly, but that he lied to them.
Which is also inaccurate because
it's their excuse. It's why how they can say I'm mad at you, but no, I'm not an anti-Semite. It's because you lied to us. So they wouldn't have that excuse. It would just be like, oh no, I don't like you because you are Jewish. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't have any reason to hide that. He clearly wouldn't have as easy of a life if it was just out in the open. And, he's there for a school year. And I don't know. It's really hard to say.
Be a lot more cowards to fight.
Definitely. If they would only, nut up and get out there.
Not this crew.
Yeah.
Not this crew. Maybe if he went to the Dead Poets Society school. No, because it was a totally different group of, I mean, come on. Like, what do they do? Like, they come out, they play soccer in Dead Poets Society. So I'm a little bit... It's just frustrating. It's two different movies.
So
The Emperor's Club is a Dead Poets Society knockoff. All due respect to Kevin Kline.
Okay. And yes, all due respect to Kevin Kline, just in general. Because Kevin Kline is great.
Always.
So, you were mentioning, we were talking a little bit about how things are today. Sorry, what's up?
Yeah, no. There was one more thing that I wanted to mention, and maybe this is where you're going, but it was also another thing that was different watching it this time is that I'm a Jew. I identify as Jewish. I'm not religious. I am cultural. I take pride in that. My daughter goes to Catholic school. It's a great school. My daughter can read. She can read. She read me 2 books tonight. Okay? So
very nice.
Anyway, the fact that, point is, it's a different world. I send her to Catholic school. There's no, there's none of that. It's, where everyone's open. There are other kids who have Jewish parents there. It's a different world, but still just watching it from the lens of a Jewish person who's experiencing, because she does come home sometimes with some, religious materials. And I mean, I don't necessarily subscribe to organized religion, period. So a lot of my qualms are not necessarily with the religious content, but it's more in, some of the messaging. But she's 5. It's all good right now.
Right. Yeah.
So and anyway, the point of the story is...
And also her mom is Catholic.
Well, yeah.
So it's not...
Well, and I'm sorry, I should say not the messaging at her school, but the type of messaging like in School Ties.
Right.
So it's interesting watching that and then kind of comparing that to... And just thinking about my reactions and kind of measuring myself, but just from the perspective of someone who is Jewish, but who is not. Yes, my wife is Catholic. We celebrate all the holidays. Yes, we do Christmas and Hanukkah. We do Easter and Passover. We do the High Holy Days. So we celebrate everything. We celebrate. We've got Spanish family. We celebrate Spanish. We do Spanish observations. So it's just kind of like hey, this is who you are all together.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in general, it's interesting because I thought about Chloe's class and I thought about, the other kids who have family and the other parents that I've met. And it's just such a, like, in this world, like Charlie Dillon and Sally Wheeler are expected to get together because their parents have known each other for a long time.
They come from prestigious families.
And it's a world where people don't tend to leave their regions as much, I feel.
Right.
And it's just not, the intercontinental transportation is not as much of a thing. And, I go to a parent event and I'm talking to parents from all over the world that are, and all of our kids go to school together. And it just made me really appreciate that because you look at that school and there's no diversity whatsoever. And on the surface, there's no diversity at all. Because being Jewish is not necessarily, it's not on the surface, it's not race.
Right.
It's not nationality.
It's not nationality.
No. So,
but that all said, if you could recast School Ties with your daughter and her friends, who would be who? I'm just kidding.
Oh, boy. Well, let's see. Honora would be Chris O'Donnell. And
I like Honora already.
Yeah, she's cool.
You don't have to do this. It's fine.
No,
you don't have to name names of children.
No. I'm sorry. You could, yeah. Anyway.
But
so John, yeah. So what? All right. We're not recasting this clearly with kindergartners. So what are you thinking? What?
All right. So,
is this where we come back to our fellow?
Yes, it is. This is my
boy.
fake answer. This is my fake idea for a new version. So, yes, you had mentioned that there is a scene in the dining hall after everybody finds out that he's Jewish, and they're being his friend. I say friends in quotes, but they're being complete assholes. And he is a server in the dining hall, and he is assigned to their table. He kind of blows up at them and storms off, and there is one kid.
Buttons.
They push his buttons. They certainly do. And there's one kid in the dining hall who's also a server, who kind of bumps into him and tells him that they should switch tables. And then he says, "You need this job as much as I do. I want to know what's going on with that guy."
Yes. Yes.
What's his story?
I know, and I love the way he says that.
He says that like he is the star of his own movie.
Yes, exactly. What is he hiding? What secrets does he have? Is there another School Ties going on at that school? Like,
that's
on the
what
other
I'm
side
thinking.
of the campus?
That's what I'm thinking. But like, I don't know.
Parallel School Ties?
Yeah, I don't know. I just want to know, what could it possibly be?
Jew!
Grow up, for Christ's sake.
I'll reach your so mature.
Garçon, plus s'il vous plaît.
Excuse me, there's no salt on this table. I need salt for my fruit. Oh, someone's not doing his menial job.
It's so hard to find decent help these days.
Can't you move any faster, please?
If you care to step outside, I'll show you how fast I can.
David, come on! David,
Come on.
David, come on! It's not worth it, David. It's not worth it, all right?
Look, my name is Richard Collins. What's yours, Reesburg?
David, I'll work your table. You can take mine, all right? Listen, man, you need this job as much as I do. Come on, Green, don't blow it, all right?
But anyways, my real answer, I've got two. So I would do something present day, similar plot, whether it's high school or college, who knows, but someone's attending a prestigious school and they are a ringer for the sports team. But in this case, it would be a school that's like in an extremely red state, very, very ultra. I'm not going to say conservative because conservative doesn't mean racist, right. But it is a very racist student body, and there is somebody who can pass as white, but is actually of either, I was thinking, Mexican descent or even Iranian descent, if we want to get ultra current.
Yeah.
So, it would play out however it would play out, but, it's a very real thing, that is happening right now. The racism towards, especially, the past few years, people of, Mexican descent or just now Iranian descent, because I just read something today about a group of like 100 people who are of Iranian ancestry who were like stopped and held at the US Canadian border.
Yeah.
And and it's just like disgusting. And this school ties story could so easily happen with somebody from those cultures. The other thought that I had would be a docu-series about people who have experienced this, because there are lots of Dick Wolves out there, or David Greens out there who, have had to pass as something that they are not in order to get by. And maybe they have been discovered. And, I'm sure you can have a very long running docuseries with that premise.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, how about you? What are you thinking?
So my idea, similar to this, to the series. I mean, it's a series, but more of a dramatic, long format drama series, of just kind of breaking this, and maybe taking it to, expanding it and kind of letting it breathe a little bit more, maybe working out some of the things that you have to do in the movie because you have a limited amount of time, like having David go to the, for the Rosh Hashanah, just going once for Rosh Hashanah, which does he not go back for Yom Kippur, which is, I would say, like, do we know about that? Does he risk it? It's like things like that you can't have.
Quick aside about the Rosh Hashanah scene. Did he have like a secret shofar moment after like the dean leaves where he's just like looking around like, hope no one hears this, and like belts out like the shofar? Sorry, go on.
No, that was, you could have things like that. No, but I wonder, and in a series you have the possibility of also having, as you go on, you're in a school, so you have, new people coming in, coming out. And of course, in this, David's a senior, so you would kind of have that to work with. But I think that you could also, maybe during at least that first season, have your David or whoever your main character is discover that there are there's others. Like, he's not the only secret Jew there.
You need this job just as much as I do.
Yeah. I mean, but maybe not necessarily him, but I was just thinking it would be, at one point in class, so, everyone's talking, all the kids are talking, and David just mumbles under his breath, Sheket b'vakasha, and someone next to him goes, hey! And
they're just like, oh no.
Wait, you? Yeah.
I mean, as we're kind of talking about this, I'm thinking about some other movies that have similar themes, and like Ladybugs just came to mind.
Well, someone who has to pretend to be what they're not in order to succeed.
Yeah, who's a ringer for the team.
Yeah.
And he's in it to Jonathan Brandis is in it to be with the girl. And
well, so is Rodney Dangerfield.
He's in it, yes, to be able to have a wedding. We're not talking
Well,
about
he wants to
ladybugs right
impress his boss, and anyway. Yeah, not talking about
so-
ladybugs, but yeah, that's true. But I mean, there's a lot of, like, Shakespeare wrote a ton about people
Sure.
disguising themselves. You have in history, you have Joan of Arc, you have the Mulan.
Right.
The upcoming, which, man, that looks good.
The Mulan trailer, yeah. And, you know, for all of the Disney live action remakes, I feel like they've all just been in preparation for this one, which seems like it should have just been this way from the start.
But and that's what's cool. That's what does make this one different. And I look forward to seeing it and talking more about it. But yeah, so there's so many great stories with that theme, just because it's a universal theme, identity, especially for teens. As a high school teacher, it's something, it's central to our curriculum, especially I teach 9th grade. So at the age of 14, 15, identity, self-discovery, figuring out who you are in the context of your surroundings and in relation to other people, and discovering and seeing more about how other people experience the world, and just kind of having more of the world open up to you. Yeah, it's identity is central to that time. I think that's why you have so many of these things. I mean, and that's where Dead Poet Society, you have the overlap of, like the Robert Sean Leonard character. Identity. So I feel like School Ties is really powerful in that also we introduce David as a strong character, but that strength is challenged. He doesn't have, that's the one thing he doesn't have the strength to do, is he wants to fit in so much when they're in that room and they're talking about they're listening to music, which interestingly pointed out, they're listening to songs written by Jewish writers, Smokey Joe's Cafe, Lieber and Stoller, performed by African Americans.
Right.
So it's an interesting irony. It's a nice choice. It's not pointed out in the movie, but that's great.
It's a little Easter egg.
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh. A Passover egg, I guess.
Yes. It's the Afikomen.
It's the... Oh, boy. That worked. That worked for me.
Do I get $1?
Yeah. So...
a lottery ticket? Scratch off?
Yeah. So I think that... I don't know. I think that there's so many good things that could be done with this movie, or this property. And, in this one, I don't think it would be bad if it did happen. The odds of anything, I mean, there's always the chance of something coming up, but not being a school, like not referencing school ties at all.
It's timely. Of course, when is it not timely? But it's kind of especially timely. And you're right. You could have something, a very similar concept come up and have it be successful and have it really have no connection to School Ties other than thematically.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I would still like something called School Ties, and I would like to keep the cowards.
Yeah, I was going to say you'd like to have somebody yell cowards.
In every episode.
Oh, yeah.
In every episode.
Yeah.
Cowards.
That's the whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, any other thoughts on School Ties? You don't have to.
I'm thinking. No,
I mean, another thing that came up for me, and this will be the only time I intend to bring this movie up as being a version of this done wrong. Soul Man.
Oh, well, but Soul Man was intended, it was, and I'm not defending Soul Man. Let me put this out there right now. I'm not defending Soul Man, but Soul Man, and this is partially why I'm not defending Soul Man, is because it's intended to be a comedy. Maybe if Soul Man had tried to be more like, had been more like School Ties, it might have actually been,
and Soul Man,
not
for anybody
cringeworthy.
who isn't familiar, is a film about somebody who is is a white person posing as a black person by like using a ton of bronzer or something in order to get a scholarship, if I'm not
A
mistaken.
scholarship to
I'm
Harvard.
Oh, is it to Harvard?
I am unless it's Stanford, I am almost positive.
Honestly, haven't seen Soul Man, in a very, very long time.
Yeah, good luck finding it.
Yeah, I don't want to.
Yeah, Harvard.
Is it Harvard?
Harvard.
Yeah. Well,
Man,
I mean,
something about Harvard.
Yeah, that one. Whoever decided to move forward with that idea, it would never happen now. It would never happen now. But
no, but in 1986, of course it did. So actually, that director is Steve Miner, who also directed Forever Young, starring Mel Gibson, Warlock, Julian Sands, great movie, Friday the 13th Part 2. I feel like he directed something else, but I cannot seem to find Halloween H2O.
Huh. Okay.
Quality.
There you go. So Dan, do you by any chance remember the circumstances under which you saw this movie for the first time?
In fact, I do. John.
Please do tell.
So when this movie came out in September 1992, I was in 10th grade and had started taking a confirmation class at our synagogue. And this was the post bar mitzvah, is confirmation class for those who would not be familiar with it. It was more of a exploring the social issues, how various social issues related to Judaism. And when School Ties was released, we were I don't remember if we were strongly encouraged to go see it or required to go see it, but I remember I went with some friends from Hebrew school or from confirmation class at the Westfield Rialto.
Okay. So we had similar experiences, but I remember things a little differently. And I was at this point, in Hebrew school, and there was still, it was, I believe, a requirement. And I want to say that we were actually bused to the movie theater.
Really?
I have this memory of actually going, and it wasn't that theater. It was somewhere. It wasn't in Westfield.
It wasn't the one right
else.
down the street from the temple?
No, because I want to say that they rented out the theater or something, or they had a special screening for the group of people who were going.
I mean, that seems unusual. You would have been, because and I don't know how much of a difference this would have made, but it's a PG-13 movie. Was it by permission?
I remember being told, and I want to say that Scott, our brother, for people listening who don't know us, was also part of it. So it was many different groups. And I remember being told that it was very important for us to see this movie. So, yeah.
Our roots. No, kidding.
I mean, I wonder if because you were older and of an age where you had, more freedoms to do things on your own, it was less of a we are busing you to the movie theater situation and more of a, hey, check this out when you get a chance and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I think that was it. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't tell you if it was required or not, but I went, and I want to say it was the opening weekend. Yeah, Westfield Rialto. I remember the place being pretty packed for School Ties.
School Ties.
Not a whole lot of cowards in that crowd.
Nope. So, I I think that's all we've got for School Ties. Dan, you want to talk about what we're going to do on the next episode?
So on the next episode,
something very different.
When John says cult classic, John is talking about this movie, or at least the first in the very long franchise.
This property.
This property, Tremors, 1990, yeah. Kevin Bacon, Fred Ward,
yeah,
and Mr. Keaton from Family Ties, and lots of big, giant sandworms.
No, I'm excited. I can't remember the last time I watched a Tremors.
I saw anyway, we'll talk about it next time. But yeah, it's definitely been a long time since I have given any attention to Tremors. So this is going to be fun. Looking forward to it. We're going to get our... And Kevin Bacon has to have been in something that connects to Lorenzo's Oil. So
I'm sure we can figure that one out pretty easily.
Absolutely.
All right, Dan, Cowards, good journey.
Cowards and friends, good journey.